Hey there, Postal here. Squeaky voice, Postal. That's because I've got this plane. Uh, so I won this plane, so that's good. This is the XP-36C. No, actually, it's XP-36F. Excuse me. I've got the P-36C, which is actually worse, believe it or not. I really do not like this plane. I've only played it one battle though, so let's give it the benefit of the doubt. Let's say it was just a funky battle, stretching my legs. Got 10,000 personal points. Really just kind of frustrating interactions. And let's explain why. What is the XP-36F? Well, it's supposed to be a P-36, but with two 23mm cannons instead of all machine guns. That, on paper, sounds awesome. But to get those two 23mm cannons, you lose a lot of the cool stuff that... Oh no. Whoa, that was close. That makes the P-36C an okay plane. Thankfully, you keep the altitude performance, and that's something I highly recommend that you lean in on. Because a lot of the planes that you will run into are not going to have that altitude performance. Problem is, everybody's favorite Tier 4 fighter has better altitude performance than you, and the same airspeed and better maneuverability. In fact, you've got the worst maneuverability at this tier. It'd be really cool if the Blenheim would stop shooting the same things I'm shooting. But that doesn't seem to be going to be happening. So what we have here is a plane that is supposed to lean in on speed, but it's actually slightly slower than the P-36. Meaning that it can be outsped by the F-109Bs, of course, but it can also be outsped by all manner of planes, to be honest. The Model 81A goes faster than this plane. And what you run into is the cool 23mm cannons that were supposed to be the balancing factor of this plane. Yeah, you've got you've got terrible maneuverability and you're not the best at speed, but you're pretty fast, and you're not the best at altitude, but you've got good altitude to kind of overcome some other things. The 23mm cannons that were supposed to be the thing that kind of made you cool, they suck. These are the 23mm cannons that are on stock like PF-38, excuse me, P-38s. I'm trying to concentrate on here. Am I going to kill this guy? Problem is they hit so poorly, and they overheat so quickly. If they were 20mm cannons, like British 20mm cannons, then they'd be a lot better. But they're American 23mm cannons. They're not Soviet 23mm cannons. They're American crap 23mm cannons. And so they're inconsistent at best. They're frustrating at the worst. But they're certainly inconsistent. There's a fine window, like, here's your plane. They're good out here. Any closer, any further. Even at the maximum range, they don't do well at that range. They do better at like a middle range. Right about where I was hitting. Hello again, sir. And that's it. And that's because they're on the wing. They need to converge at a certain range. And if the enemy plane is not at that certain range, well, then you're only hitting them with freaking 30 caliber machine guns. 30 caliber machine guns aren't great in the best of times. They're not very good in Tier 4 battles. Luckily, this frickin' Blenheim is AFK. And even with him being AFK, we're still getting pummeled here. Here we go. He was at the right distance. Yay. Thank goodness for that. Let's F7 this guy. Oh, did I kill that guy? Yeah, I might have actually killed the one lovely guy over there, the air defense aircraft. So we've got two really maneuverable planes. That's the thing, is at tier 4 everything's really maneuverable. Even the BF-109B, right? Everything but you in your P-36s or your wannabe P-36s like this XP-36F. And yeah. I'm glad I won this plane and didn't pay for it. That I can definitively say. You know what's really crazy is like a P-43 American, not even on the tourney multi-roll line, turns better than this plane, has better maneuverability. And so, I mean, Hurricanes have better maneuver, Hurricane 1s. So that's what you're dealing with when you've got this plane. Go, oh, okay, Postal, but I mean, you go a lot faster than a P-40. No, you don't, actually. You don't. Yeah, I might go faster than a Hurricane 1. And yeah, I've got better altitude performance than both those planes. But the altitude difference at tier 4 is not all that great. I don't mean great like good. I mean great as in just a large amount of difference. There isn't a huge amount of difference. And so yeah, you want to lean in on your altitude because it will help you dictate the engagements a little bit more. But it only goes so far to help. Speaking of two planes that can outmaneuver me, this is where we're using our altitude performance.
We have complete control of the skies. Way to go.
And luckily we were able to. Let's actually continue to use that. Skua, what are you doing?
There's a heavy storm here. Unable to proceed. Return into
Yep, he's in the blind zone of the 23s. Ah.
proud of you, pilots. Head back home.
And so yeah, another, I mean, this is right at 10,000 again. I got my Campbell out of this one, but just a frustrating plane. Just very frustrating plane. Let's take a look at a second battle. All right, so our second battle here in the XP-36F. We're in a tier 5 battle, which you're going to get a lot more tier 5 battles than tier 4 battles, simply because of the matchmaker. And we're going to hate life in all its glory. Literally no plane here do I feel comfortable with. This guy, the A6M1, I can hit and run him.
Get ready for action.
F2A, I can hit and run him. Besides those planes, I guess the AR-197 I can. I need to be careful not to turn, right? So let's go ahead and, oh, you might notice I've got sparklers on. It's because I'm playing tier 4, like, I don't know. Try not to be too try-hardy at tier 4. Try-hardy, har har, har 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 har. Okay, so what are we doing here? Just gonna hit and run. Try to get these 23mm cannons to do something. Besides frustrate me to no end. Let's dive down. Oh, good. Oh, good. Let's get to the garrison here. Let's send everybody else to the plant because there's not a lot I can do at the plant. We've got a P-38F. That's good. And a Beaufighter. That's even better. Although, actually, I think the P-38F is probably better tier 5 heavy fighter. Simply because of speed. So, speaking of speed, let's get our altitude up here. It's where we can have our biggest impact. They got the mining facility, unfortunately. Oh, they've got a bomber, so that could help the situation. Let's see if we can't kink this over here. Dive down. I think we've got a heavy fighter inbound. This guy's right where we kind of want him, actually. Other than our damage output still kind of stinks. Oh, all the peoples. All the peoples. Oh, and that guy's just like the worst thing that we could have to deal with. Cameron. Can we get this guy? I'm gonna send everybody else for him. That's for sure. Use my 30mm cannons. Oh, that BF-109E is gonna kill us now. Yep. Alright, so where are we gonna go? I guess we're gonna head back down to the other garrison down here. Yeah, that's all we can really do. I'm under the impression they're about to capture it, and we're gonna try to capture it back. Oh, they might not capture it. Maybe we can defend it a little bit and move on to the air base over there. Yeah, and there's just not a niche where this plane is good. And there's other planes like that. The Mustang 1A is another plane. I was really hoping this would be like the Mustang 1A. What do I mean by that? On paper, the Mustang 1A is actually pretty dang terrible. It has worse everything than a bunch of other planes. It's the worst maneuverability at Tier 6 fighters. It has pretty piss poor maneuverability, as you would suspect from... excuse me. It has the worst maneuverability. Has just okay altitude performance. You'd think it'd have great altitude performance because you're a freaking Mustang. You're a P-51A, basically. But no. It has noticeably worse altitude performance. Yada, yada, yada. It's got all these different metrics that on paper you're just like, wow, why would anybody fly a Mustang 1A? Oh, but it does have 20mm cannons. Does that really make a big enough difference? Actually, yes, on the Mustang 1A. Totally. So this is what I was hoping. I was like, okay, on paper this plane sucks. I'm hoping that the 23mm cannons make up for the crap metrics on paper. And unfortunately, the reality is they don't. They just don't hit very often. There's only 2 of them. And even when they do hit, they're not doing significant damage. So you've got a kind of fast, kind of high altitude, complete brick of maneuverability plane here with mediocre armament. And it just isn't enough for me to even enjoy this plane. You know me. I like the F5F. I like the AD-10C2. Those are fun planes. I enjoy those planes because they're, you know, yeah, they might be weak, but they're different and they can be fun. This is weak, but I'm not having fun with it. And this guy's going to outmaneuver me easily. So let's go ahead and just get outside the sector. If I can.
Be advised, a line of thunderstorms is approaching.
Nope, I got the heavy fighter inbound now.
To provide support. Do you copy? Over. Victory is in sight. Keep it up.
And so you just have this plane that isn't really good at anything. It'll every once in a while the 23mm cannons will hit and you'll go, yeah, cool, did some damage. But you gotta just find that exact window. And there's just a lot going against it. it's tier 4, so you've got just a ton of time. You're going to be at tier 5. Tier 4 battles are okay, but even then, I'd rather have a plane that... I'd rather have the P-36, because you don't have to worry about the machine guns overheating. Here, you're managing your firepower more than you're actually hitting anything. Phew. And it's like I just want to go out and shoot stuff. I'm at tier 4. Like, don't make me freaking think. And then you're going against BF-109s that are the definition of no think at tier 4 and tier 5. And it's like, is there any benefit to this plane over a BF-109B? None at all. Like, literally none at all. Yeah, you can earn more credits, but you're going to do so much better in a BF-109 that you're going to earn those credits just because you're going to be able to do so much better. Any battles I've had in here where I've done well, I mean, this is only the 3rd battle I've played. And again, I've been pulling 10,000 personal points each battle, but I feel like if I was in a BF-109, I would have done at least 14,000. Ah, shoot. This guy again, speaking of which. See if I can't just dive straight down. Nope. Are we gonna win this? We've got 2 more clicks. I think we're gonna actually win it. But not because, not because we had some stellar impact. Really, with a plane like this, you've got to avoid as much interaction as possible because you can't trust the cannons. Let's head back and take a look at both of our games. Alright, so in the first battle there, 10 kills, 2 captured sectors, and yeah. We did stuff. We got McCampbell out of it, so I'll take that, but it was clearly the Blenheim. We were just kind of riding coattails there, right? We were able to outduel P-43, but he was not in a good position. He was forced to be in not a good position because he was trying to carry his team. This guy being AFK the whole time certainly didn't help. We're lucky with the matchmaking here. Completely lucky with the matchmaking. That the only planes that could have hurt us, Blenheim and the P-43, we didn't really run into very often. I guess the lag could have been a pain in the butt. We just didn't run into them until it was too late for them, right? And so this battle is more indicative of us being a good support plane rather than us being a good carry plane. All right, so again, 10 kills, 3 sectors captured this time. And at tier 5, I feel like I'm flying a ground attacker that can't attack the ground. What do I mean by that? I'm trying to avoid any kind of confrontation. Normally, and I know I've already mentioned the Mustang 1A, normally what I'm doing in these types of situations is I'm trying to, with a Mustang 1A for instance, I don't get in a dogfight, but I'm on the periphery. Here's the dogfight, and here's Postal. And somebody, and then I attack that person. And you've got 20mm cannons that just melt down whatever, but you need to melt down whatever. You need to kill that target, because if you don't, you're dead. And that's what you do. You take advantage of targets that aren't paying attention, low health targets, yada, yada, yada. My thought process was, in this particular battle, was to, and owning this plane, is to do the same thing. The problem is, the 23mm cannons, so you only get 2 of them, that are on this plane, just don't do the damage that you need them to do. Let's take a look. So here's our setup, right? We've got 2 synchronized 30 caliber machine guns. They do 17 freaking damage per second. Then you get these 2 23mm cannons that do 70. Overall, we are pushing out 174 damage per second. That's supposed to be the the selling feature of this plane. And not that you can buy this plane, you have to get it in crates. I'm sure they've got it from time to time. And so 23 millimeter cannons is supposed to be the cool thing, right? Well, I mean, 170 is okay. It's better than a P-36C, right? But is it that much better that it's worth all the detrimental parts of it, which is the airspeed, which is okay, but not enough. It's not going to get you out of trouble. It's going to let you burn away from maneuverable fighters, but it's not going to do anything versus, again, BF-109s. I know I keep talking about BF-109Bs, but that's because literally everybody's flying a BF-109B, and if you're not, you need to go down that line. The BF-109B and E are like two of the best planes for their tier. But even things like an HE-112, you're not going to be able to just boost away from an HE-112. Even though an HE-112 is a slower plane, it's not that much slower. It's not slow enough compared to it. You're only going to be able to really boost away from I-17s, from Ki-43s and A6M1s. And I mean, of course you're going to be able to. Literally any plane can boost away from those planes. They're super maneuverable bricks. And so they just don't fly that fast. So your speed advantage that you have with an XP-36F is like a no-duh situation. It's not over-the-top crazy speed. It's like, you know, the speed that you should have. Same with the altitude performance. The altitude performance is what you should have on a P-36. You have it on your P-36C, which is utter garbage. You've got it on, in fact, the Model 81A, which has terrible guns, has slightly better altitude performance. So all these planes that, you know, are in your same wheelhouse, let's again, BF-109B, which has much better altitude performance. All these planes that are in your same wheelhouse, you're not going to be able to do anything about them. You can't escape a BF-109B. You can't escape a Model 81A, not that anybody flies that. You just can't escape those planes that you'd want to. And you certainly can't outmaneuver them because you've got the worst Tier 4 maneuverability. So what you're supposed to have is these really great 23 millimeter cannons that, sure, they overheat quickly, but they're supposed to do the damage. The problem is they don't hit. They're on the wing, and so if you're aiming like this, there's a certain zone where those cannons are going to hit the target. If your target's further out, they're going to miss. If the target's too close, they're going to miss. And so it can be super frustrating on a plane like this that's supposed to be able to put out a lot of damage for a fighter, and it's not actually, in reality, doing that damage. In reality, you're getting a couple chunk shots in, and then your 30 caliber machine guns are having to kill a half health plane. And that can be super frustrating, right? Obviously, I'm clearly frustrated by this whole thing, and I'm very glad that I didn't purchase this plane. The only other like super perk of this plane is it is a premium. I've got literally my highest point pilot. This is my F-86 pilot, a 12-point American fighter pilot. I've got it built up for aerodynamics. I've got it having the aerobatics expert, which doesn't really help on this plane because 2% additional maneuverability, 2% of crap is still crap, right? I do have resilience, which is super helpful, and I've even got evasive target, which isn't overly helpful for this particular plane. Might actually be better for me to have a heavy fighter pilot, something like my F-2H pilot, or yeah, my F-2H pilot would probably be one of my better pilots. I think F-6U might be a good pilot. Yeah, F-6U would be a perfectly adequate pilot because at least then you've got Marksman 2 on my pilot. And so maybe that would change my mind, putting a heavy fighter or multi-role fighter pilot in this particular plane, getting that Marksman 2. But that means I'd have to play it more. And I suppose I'm going to get this plane specialized. I suppose my best bet is putting a P-51H or an F-2H pilot in here, maybe the F-6U pilot. But you can see my maneuverability drops down significantly. So as crap as my maneuverability was previously, super crap now, because I'm putting in a pilot that's not built around maneuverability or at all. I'm built around a pilot that's just, I mean, my F-6U pilot's specific to speed, so at least you'll have Marksman 2. I don't know, unimpressed by this plane out of the gate. We'll fly it some more, see what else we can get out of it. But I'd love to hear your opinions. Is this a plane you have? I know it's not the most popular plane. You can't just get it. So I know that there wouldn't be a lot of people that actually have it. I'd love to hear the opinion of those that have flown this. I get the feeling the couple of people that I know that have it really enjoy it. I kind of suspect they don't fly it all that often though, so we'll see what actually happens with that. Otherwise, I'd love to hear your opinion on it, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.